Hey everyone, Random Randy here, and this is Yarn Talk number 3. This is going to be kind of short and brief because I only have a few things that I want to go over. I'm still working on pretty much the same things that I was a few days ago when I did the last one. I'm trying to use up as much yarn as possible. If you watch my yarn haul video, you'll see that I've put myself on a yarn ban until my birthday, which is in the middle of February. It's kind of a resolution, I guess, a New Year's resolution, not completely. I have so much yarn right now that as much as I would love to keep just collecting and collecting and collecting, my ultimate goal would be to have a space where I could have any color of yarn I needed for any given project, so I wouldn't have to go to the store whenever I felt like starting something new. Right now I'm nowhere near that, but I also don't have that much space. So I'm going to get right to what I finished and what I'm still working on / what I want to work on next. If you want to see all the squishy new yarn, that was my last big yarn purchase of 2016. It's the 1st of January right now. But if you want to see that, I will leave the link to it in the description box below, and there will probably be a link for it at the end of the video as well. So here's what I finished in the past few days. This is a Loom Knitted Hat made with super bulky wool acrylic blend. This is a Big Twist yarn, which is a Joann Fabrics exclusive yarn. It's a wool acrylic blend. I want to say 20 wool, 80% acrylic, but this is loom knitted, as you can tell, probably by the stitches. This is the largest round loom that I have, and this is part of the reason why I'm done with loom knitting unless I can find a really nice knitting board with a finer gauge at some point. So this hat is super, super tight and hardly fits my toddler. So I will probably try to sell this as is, maybe put a pom-pom on it just for some more interest and just sell it as a kid's hat because it doesn't fit me. And aside from that, my wrist was so sore last night that I was wearing my compression gloves, which are for arthritis, but they help with little carpal tunnel flare-ups. Since, as much as I hate to admit it, I am getting older, and doing that much repetitive motion with your hands will cramp your wrists and make every move pain. And who wants to be in pain when you're doing something like knitting or crochet that's supposed to be relaxing? Correct answer to that is nobody does. So there's that, which I'm honestly kind of disgusted with. I mean, it looks nice, but I'm pissed that it won't even fit my 4-year-old. So there's one. Next, I finished my socks, my crochet tube socks that are from a Red Heart pattern that I modified. And I will put a link to that pattern down in the description box below. I may do a video at some point that shows how I modified it to make it into a tube sock. It isn't really very difficult, but I know that some people aren't really minded so that construction is how they work with crochet. Some people just read a pattern, some people can't read a pattern at all and need a visual. So here are my socks. They look positively huge because I have size 9 to 11 feet depending on what I'm wearing. Sometimes I have to get an 11 in boots because my feet are kind of wide. But as you can see, this is 100% acrylic. They're very stretchy. They go right on. They have a little bit of a band at the top to help hold them in place. And it's made in my favorite acrylic, Deborah Norville Everyday Yarn in the Lava colorway. I actually used up all my scraps that I had of this to make these socks, and I think I ended up using 3 scrap balls and maybe half a ball of regular yarn. I've still got probably 8 or 10 full-size balls of that yarn put away. Anytime I make something for myself, I tend to use that yarn. It's just, I really like the red, white, and black contrasted with each other. And as you can see, when you're doing something kind of small, it's stripes, which is super awesome because striped socks are the best socks. There's those. Another one, which I made totally out of the blue last night. This is made with Lion Brand Scarfie yarn. As you can see, it's tonal, so it goes from the green to the black to the green and black mixed. But this is just a regular double crochet beanie with a front post double crochet brim to help hold it on. And it's normal adult sized, unlike my Loom hat, which I'm still mad about and probably never going to get over. So this is Scarfie, which is a wool acrylic blend. And I did this with a K-hook because this is a bulky 5-weight yarn. I want to say it took me maybe an hour and a half, maybe, something like that. And the other thing is the scarf that I showed off in one of my, I think in the first Yarn Talk video, but this is, I don't know if I can get the whole thing in the frame, maybe if I bend it a little bit. Oh, there we go, just barely fits. This is the scarf that was from a pattern I found for giving it out for charity and for the homeless. I made this with 1 entire skein of Red Heart Super Saver green tones, I think was the name of this. And on the ends I just did a front post, back post to keep it from curling and to give it a little bit of texture. I don't know how close I can get and have you still see it. There we go. But it ended up being 8 inches wide and about 40 inches long. So it is thick enough that you can fold it over. It's not super long for wrapping, but it's long enough that you could still tuck it in, cover your face. I mean, if you don't fold it, it's big. It's a big scarf. So definitely good for being out in the chill to cut wind. There's that. That is the last thing that I have finished that I have with me. Another thing that I have finished but don't actually have on hand is another amigurumi stuffed jellyfish. It ended up being huge. It actually went to the younger sister of the little boy who I made the first one for. I showed it off when it was partway done in my last Yarn Talk video, but I'm going to put a picture of it here to show what it looked like when it was completely finished. It ended up being huge. I mean, I had to hold it with 2 hands. It was so big. And it was really funny to see a teeny little 1.5-year-old girl grab onto this big jellyfish, and it was so many pretty colors of purple. She was really pleased. So I was happy, and that's what matters. So there's the stuff that's done, stuff I'm working on. Actually, last night, just for the hell of it, I decided to start, I want to make this into a beanie that has a brim. You can buy hats like that. Most of the people I've seen wearing them, it's a skater snowboarder type of deal. I really like the way they look. I figured I'd give it a try. Found a few different patterns. I'm probably going to mix and match to make it the way I want, but I started this. And it's just half double crochet into spiral. This is a Red Heart Super Saver. One of the camouflage, I can't remember. I think it's Urban Camo is what this is called. But it's grays and tan. Kind of masculine, kind of plain, but I like it. We'll go with just about anything. And I'm doing this with an eye hook, and it's a worsted weight yarn. other thing I'm still working on, which after I do that hat will probably be the next thing I finish because I've been in a finishing kind of mood lately, is this Coraline in Rio shawl that I started making with Scarfie. It is a wool acrylic blend, like all Scarfie yarn, and the color on this is actually cranberry black. And it's tonal, just like with the green hat, it's gonna fade from red to black to mixed and back again. Probably the next thing to finish after I finish the hat. And aside from that, I've still got, although there's a few more rows done than there was before, the fisherman's wool Tunisian hat that I'm working on. The light in here is absolute garbage right now, and I apologize for that, but I am doing my best. But yeah, it's a little bit longer than it was before. Like I said, I'm just kind of picking away at it, not in any hurry to finish it, just doing my thing. And the only other thing I've got that I'm working on right now, until I dig the blanket out of the closet, that's granny squares that I'm working on for my youngest son who's having a fit right now. The only other thing that I've got that I'm working on is this scarf, which is kind of a checkerboard basket weave knit pattern, and this is made with Michael's Charisma Loops and Threads pink, black, and gray, and this is 100% acrylic. And I'm using, what size needle is that? 11 or 8mm interchangeable knitting needle for that one. So that's all I have that I'm working on right now. Once I'm finished with the things that I've got halfway done right now, my next big thing is going to be working on Killian's blanket. It is granny squares, but it's a closed granny square, so it doesn't have a ton of spaces. It just has the little eyelet holes down the corners and in the center. Can't remember the exact dimensions, but I think I'm making it throw sized. I actually have a paper where I have the whole plan written out, how many squares, which ones are going to go where in the pattern. So it's going to be tiger striped. It's orange, black, and tan. Gonna be really cool. He actually picked the colors out himself. When we were at the store, I told him to pick out 3, and those were the ones he picked. So hopefully when I get it all finished, he'll appreciate it, because making granny squares is hyper tedious, and as I've probably mentioned before, I'm not a big fan of projects that take me more than maybe 4 or 5 hours total. It's trying to snow outside right now. It's really windy. That's interesting. Anyway, so that's all I've got for now. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me again while I chat about the squishy things that I make. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, leave some comments, ask me questions, give me ideas for things that you want me to talk about in future videos, if there's any patterns you'd like me to test out, if there are issues you're having with a pattern, I can try to help. I'm not an expert, but I'm really good at improvising and figuring out a way to make it work, even if it's not necessarily the proper way to do things. And be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this, or if you're into listening to spooky stories, whether they're true stories or fictional stories that are now in the public domain. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.